Hey guys, so on today's case study, I've got Jamie Town, and on the screen now you can see a couple of excerpts. So Jamie's been inside the inner circle now for, how long is it, Jamie? 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, 4 or 5 months now, Andy. Yep.
4 or 5 months. So the reason why Jamie's here is, as you can see on the screen, he's focused on the temp marketplace, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to read this, but two things stand out. The first thing is this: he's applied some of the one-to-many strategies, and essentially he's doing big things pretty quickly. But as you see, if you come down to the bottom, he's actually placed a huge amount very, very quickly. Placed over 40 temp to perm candidates in a week. And how he's done this is pretty cool, bringing together a couple of strategies. But Jamie's on the call because A, he's moving quickly, B, he's taking just a couple of strategies and replicating them, and C, this stuff works in the temp market as well as the perm market. So with that said, Jamie, I thought what we'd do is we just spend 20 minutes or so just chatting through what you've done, where you've been.
Sure.
So really your story. So you can't see it at the moment, Jamie, but what I've got on my screen is my iPad. So you know how much I love frameworks. So what I'm going to do as we go through is I'm going to be drawing out what you're sharing with us. So first off, Jamie, how about you just take us through who you are, a bit of background about yourself.
Sure. Well, I was pretty late into recruitment, so I'd had a business previous to that. In the mid-2000s, I had outbound call centers when the mobile phone industry really took off, when camera phones started, and business was great, quickly grew. And by the end of 2007, 2008, the legislation had changed in terms of using distance zones for mobile phones, so we literally had a slow exit from that business, and I took 2 or 3 years out. Didn't do anything really, realistically, just lived a nice life. Fast forward to kind of 2011, I was approached by a gentleman who used to be my accountant for my first company, and he's an accountant, sort of corporate financer, so he restructures business which are struggling. He had a recruitment agency over in sunny Barnsley, it had problems, it had issues. He said, "Jamie, can you do me a favour? Can you go and have a look at this company?" That was me. Off I went. So I had a look at this company, told him it was a bit of a mess and needed a lot of work doing. And that was the start of Clarico back in December 2012. And over the last 5 years, through our own growth in terms of traditional sales and 2 or 3 acquisitions, the business has grown from probably $1 million turnover in its first year to probably this year we probably do between 8 and 10 million. So it's had good growth. But within that, we've never really realized profits through our acquisitions. It's been a very painful growth.
Yep.
Because we've literally had to fight fires through that period. You bring new people into the business who kind of don't believe in what your kind of way of doing things, and it's just been a struggle. That's where we got to kind of the beginning of this year, is that we've grown at a really good rate, but we weren't realizing profits. So of course, as a business owner, that can be quite frustrating.
Yep.
The tech market is difficult. It's a difficult industry to be in. So I suppose at the beginning of this year, I was kind of looking for other things to do with the business.
Got it. So when we if we backtrack to when we sort of got together, just before we got together, so maybe a month before, what was going on in your world then? What was sort of the three key challenges, pain points, or the 3 key things you were looking for at that time? What was going on that made you come to us?
Well, I'd done a relaunch in effect in terms of setting out the objectives of the business for this year, in terms of how we wanted to recruit. Placed a lot of emphasis on how we better interacted with candidates, because I could see that the market shifting. The methodology applied to permanent recruitment in terms of valuing the candidate is often lost on temporary and contract recruitment, because it's the seed is expendable. It's an unlimited resource. And with obviously the impact of Brexit and declining numbers of workers, I knew that we had to do more to kind of keep our temporary workers and our contract workers engaged and with us, because the cost to recruit is getting higher. It's more expensive. Advertising is going up. It's more competitive. So you're better to recruit once than recruit twice, 3 times, 4 times for your role. So I was looking. I knew that I had to change. So I started doing quite a lot of I don't know, call it research or just, out of work. So I'd take the dog for a walk, and I was listening to some of your podcasts. The Recruitment Employment Confederation, sorry for plugging them on here, Andy, but they were doing something called a Scale Up Live project over a period of time, where they got kind of some of the UK's recruitment leaders to do kind of 1 hour kind of talks and kind of to see where they thought the industry was going to go. So you take all that information on board, and then I suppose you start to formulate and think, right, we can't just keep doing the same as everybody else. We're not going to survive. For an agency like ours, we're always at the risk of getting gobbled up by one of the big players, one of the big high street brands. They will see us and think, oh, well, they've got a good business in that area. Let's just go and buy them up. And the reality is, at the time, I was just a third shareholder in the business. So I thought I need to do something to protect us as a business and just change the way we do things.
Got it. So that time then, there was a case of with the onset of Brexit and the competitive nature of your industry then, particularly where you are, there was a need to change. Hence,
yes.
So when you had that need to make that change, what was going on? What was the? I know when you and I spoke previously, there were a few key drivers that made you think, this is what I need to change. This is why I need to change. So one of the things I remember you saying you were doing was driving up and down the country, kind of clean yourself.
Yeah, we had our network of branches. We have two in the north of England, three in the north of England, and we have three down south. And I'm based up north in Wigan, so I was regularly doing the drive down the M6, which I know you have listeners overseas, but the M6 at the best of times is not the best motorway in England. And my day would be leaving the house at kind of 4:30 in the morning, 3 or 4 hours of driving to get through Birmingham, down south to maybe Swindon or Bristol. 3 or 4 hours worth of meetings with clients or with consultants, back up in the car. On the way back it's always worse coming back for some reason. 4 or 5 hours. So you're talking 16 hours days, 8 of those in a car, and not really achieving anything because I mentioned this in a previous call, is that if you're only you're in effect working part time because you're sat in a car travelling down there. Yes, you can take calls in the cars. Yes, you can go and spend time one-to-one, because I believe that one-to-one is always the best way of doing business. We can have all these strategies, but the reality is to get in front of someone, have a face-to-face conversation, or with a member of staff, always, is the best way to do things. And the biggest frustration for me is that every time I went down there, realistically, you're doing firefighting. What problems do you have? Not enough this, not enough clients, not enough candidates. Tried this, not working. So you give your consultants your ideas. You'll redefine the service with clients. But by the time you then drive back up, you then go to another site, that message is lost because, shit happens, doesn't it? Things change. Another problem arises, and then it's maybe another week or two before you get back down in front of that person, that client again. And I just felt down, and I mentioned this before, is that I'd been I as a business owner, had been diluted so much that was having no impact in the organisation whatsoever, nothing at all. And the days, the months, the weeks were drifting by. Now, when you can see you're having steady growth, that looks okay, but I knew we could do more. I knew there was something more to this. I knew that we could be more profitable, we could be a better place for our consultants to work, we could be a better place for people to come and work for us in terms of our clients. So I think I sat down and I said to myself, I don't think all three key components for me are not working, in that my public staff are not happy because they're not getting the support that they want. Our temporary workers are probably not as happy as contractors are not as happy as they could be, because we're probably not making sure that the environment they're going to work in is as good as it could be. And number three, as a shareholder, I suppose, is that I'm not happy because I'm not getting enough profits, I'm not getting enough time. So really, all three of our kind of cornerstones were not as they should be. Got it.
So really, we've got, just so you know, I'm taking down what you're saying in note form as you're sharing this. So what I've got then, really, at the time there was a need where you had relaunched, and we know there's economy constraints like Brexit, etc. But in terms of you personally then, this one-to-one time of travelling up and down the M6, been there, done that. So that was diluting your day. So really, what I picked up from that is your role as a business owner, something we push so hard. You're not a recruiter, you're a business owner, and that's what allows you to scale. So that had been diluted. Secondly, the fact that you're firefighting every day and in this survival mode, it's impacting your profits because you're not working strategically.
Yeah.
And then you've referenced the three pillars in terms of staff, yourself, and actually the contractors. All three of those actual relationships and performance indicators are not to the extent they should be, which goes back to your role in the business. Okay, so there's a bit going on before you came to us. So let's do this then. Take us through, because I say when I went back, if I go back to this, the screenshot showing just two of your posts inside our group, 40 temp perm candidates in a week, and you're using a couple of inbound strategies and you've niched them together, which is great. Just take us through, if you could, maybe just pick out three big, three parts of this. I know there's hundreds of different things we do and strategies, but maybe the three the core that made a big difference to you so far, Jamie.
Well, I think what would be helpful for people is that when I came to first join with you, Andy, I was going to push through perm recruitment and use all the strategies that you did, and that's what we started off doing. We actually have that model set up, ready to go in terms of there's a website built for a perm division of our business, and there is a data set built for that. But I quickly realised that there's a lot of what I was seeing could be kind of reverse engineered into the temporary and contract business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the strategies that could be used which could, add value and make us more efficient. So if we can be more efficient as recruiters and have more time to recruit, then we can increase our numbers of temporary workers and contractors we've got out there. So in terms of the three systems that we quickly used was that we adopted the VA to start data set building, so that when we were ready, we'd have this ready-made desk to drop someone onto. LinkedIn will be built, the clients and candidates would be all sat there, so someone could just literally start from day one with I would say a warm desk. It was all there. It's just a case of off you go and run with that.
Yep.
So number one for us was adding that value of data. The second was the use of Acuity, the online scheduling. So, for us, what we do in the past is the application would come in, consultants will then start processing those applications. And what you're finding is that you're calling people that, I'll say ghost, they're not ghost because they're in work or they're not available at that time. But, consultants are making 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 calls a day and speaking to maybe 10 people. I don't know. You don't know the numbers, but hence, suffice to say, they're not speaking to enough people. So the fact that we very quickly, what we did is we used the Acuity linked into, so all the job boards that we used, we would use their scheduling to as an autoresponder. So as soon as they applied, it was a case of, great, we've got the application, scheduling with one of our consultants to book, a telephone interview or registration with us. So immediately we were creating a funnel of candidates coming through, of people that were there to speak to. They weren't just in work or whatever. They were arranging times when they could talk to us, so we could have that engagement with people. So it made us much more efficient recruiters. And I think then the biggest one for us is that, again, because we're in temp and contract, we acquire a lot of data on a day-to-day basis. It's massive, the amount of inbound traffic that comes to us. And over a 5-year period, we've built up data. But it's never been used. You get churn of consultants, so new consultant comes in, they go and start building their own pool of candidates, and all these people who maybe they weren't good enough at the beginning, or they let you down and they walked off an assignment, wherever it would be, they've just been forgot. And the reality is that we all move on in our lives. So a candidate that you had 5 years ago was no good could have sorted their life out at this point, and progressed in their career and be ready to be re-engaged with again. And we just weren't doing anything with that. So we immediately did a bit of testing with RRR in terms of testing the perm stuff, found out it worked, got some results, and then literally dragged a segment of our old database off for our temp and contractors, loaded it into a RRR campaign, and just, inundated our inboxes with people who had previously expressed an interest to work but had kind of gone cold. We forgot about them. We all of a sudden had this real live data again that we could then convert into placements.
Awesome. So there are three core components. So what I've spec'd out here, we've got data sets, VA, and I've not heard that the way you phrased it but I guess that's exactly what the outcome is. You've created it's a ready-made desk, the phrase you used. So so the consultant comes and you say it's warm already set up. Love that. So from the meeting, the inbound. So this is just for those guys who are listening. So as opposed to, say, Jamie making 90 calls a day and getting through to 10, it's a case of there's 40 guys booked into your calendar, et cetera, et cetera. So they're actually booked into your calendar. In double R, so that's both had traction in the perm and the temp side, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if we look at what we've got going on then here, if we got the data sets and we've got the data sets and we've got double R, if we have that up and running, which you've got, I guess that gives your guys a ready-made pipeline, doesn't it? And if we got double R running and it's converting, and we got the meetings happening every day, I guess that's giving your guys, the consultants, sort of certainty, but also start enjoying the role again, as opposed to making shitty calls.
Yes, absolutely. The beauty is that, you know, and I heard this mentioned on some of the sessions that you've done previously. It's about turning the tap on and off, and I thought, well, that would be kind of like the holy grail to get to that point, and it is true. You know, to the point where I think our database is probably on our temp and contracts is around about the 25K. We did a sample of 2,000 to 2,500. I think it was 2,500 in the end, just in one branch, and we've not run another one since because we filled up that much from that first campaign of old data. And now the point we're at now is that all the inbound traffic, if it doesn't convert in that first week, it's immediately then dragged into double R to then keep chasing those people down. So eventually we do get them to convert. And again, a consultant's not having to do that. It's just running in the background. So everyone's just got about their normal jobs, dealing with the fresh inbound inquiries and all the stuff that converts. Well, the old, colder data is just getting farmed consistently.
Love that. So with the data sets then, and you creating that quote warm desk, and we got the inbound, I guess what that gives you then, if you've got this process, that's something you can then replicate as you look to scale. You can replicate that, create a new desk, et cetera, et cetera.
That is the strategy. Yeah, it's a case of, you know, I'm 4 or 5 months in, which seems like a long time, but because we're a larger business, it does take much more time to get these things kind of implemented. So we're doing it in small segments of testing until we get to a point where we think, right, that's the finished model, put that down in a process, and then off we go and roll it out to the rest of the business. But the reality is now, yes, if we're going to make an acquisition of not of another business, but of a consultant, I could build the desk before I got the consultant. You know, I could set the V onto a data set building, get that desk warmed up, and then literally drop someone in and have, you know, clients and candidates there sat waiting for someone to work with. And then I guess at that point, then you've got true measurables to measure that person against. It's, you know, if they fail, it's not because they've not got the right data, they're not making the call. It's because they're not a good consultant, rather than it's an external factor that's causing the problem.
Yeah, so you've got that control avenue in that case, as opposed to being reactive. You can actually start to make predictable outcomes on. Put 2,000 leads through would equate to, excuse me, X amount of candidates, X amount of leads, et cetera, et cetera. Great. And just as you were talking, I missed this out when we first spoke at the beginning. One post you put inside the Facebook group was when you applied one of the strategies, you added an extra 40K per week. That's right, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So as you were speaking, I just thought my mind just went ping. Okay, awesome. So really, in summary then, out of these, if you could summarise the key outcome or outcomes maybe into, I don't know, four key outcomes, and maybe the guys on the call, the business owners, maybe not be a 10 million yet, but there might be some of the call who are doing 20, 30 million. But for you and your business now, what are the sort of the four key outcomes that you would say have been the biggest benefits so far?
Well, I think number one for me is, I mean, we all, as a business owner, you should know that the value of your business is in the data that you're going to build and what you do with that data. But if you don't put process in place to manage that big data that's coming through, then it's worthless, and you end up wasting that data. So it's about how you manage that. So that was the key thing for us in terms of that. You know, I see my business now more like a factory. You know, there's raw ingredients coming in there at the beginning, and then it goes through this kind of processing machine to put something out at the end. And then is that I suppose that there is a different way to do these things, and is that you know, it's very easy as a business owner to think that you know best. I've worked in recruitment 10 years. I know it all. It's ridiculous. It changes, and you need to accept that whatever you did last year wasn't good enough. It needs to be better than it was last year. So it's about opening up your mind to different things. And I suppose being in an environment where ideas can be banded about, as I said on our previous calls, Andy, you don't have all the answers, neither do I. But if you've got other people who are figuring this thing out together, it adds more value, because in effect what you've got with the inner circle is you've got 60, 70, 80, 90 directors in recruitment who have all got ideas about what they can work in recruitment. So even if 10% that's good, if you take 10% from each idea and put that together, you've got something you can run with.
That's exactly it. Funnily enough, when we were in London, hopefully Jamie comes to London next month.
I'll try.
Yeah, do that. In London, one of the things we did got everyone in the room to do a 10-minute tactic. Essentially, just last year, what they've done is added, I know, might be 100k, might be add 500k, but something they've done, either a legacy strategy, inner circle strategy, or a mixture of multiple strategies. And what came out of that was even more powerful than the new stuff we created. It was phenomenal. So absolutely agree with that. And as you know, we've got a pretty solid group of directors. So the data for you then's been a key thing. So it's now like a factory. Also now got the new ideas and the proven models coming in. If there were two more outcomes that you think, this has been worth it so far, or this has given us some good solid ABC, what would the two more be?
Well, it's the fact that we're actually developing a process to how much data we can kind of put into the system, and then what our conversion will be to get out of there. So if we know we need to place 100 contractors in a site, we know we're going to need to have 300, 400, 500 applicants to push through, and then out of that we'll convert X number. Now, we're only in the early stage of testing, but I mentioned on the Inner Circle Facebook page that we took on a new contract. It's big numbers. It's a massive site in terms of what it could be worth to us, and in that type of contract, that type of volume, you can very easily fail. If you don't get your numbers there, and your client orders 30, you deliver 10, you're only going to get away with that once or twice, and then bump second agencies in there taking the work that you should have had. Yep. So it's being able to confidently predict that yes, we can meet that requirement. We can consistently meet that requirement because we have a model which will convert people, will bring people into the business. We can spend that much in advertising. We can do this, put that into the system. The consultants will only be speaking to and registering people who are actually available, rather than ones who are just sending a CV for the sake of it.
Yeah, I've actually written that down. Actually, you can predict. So that's exactly where we want to get. So each month we do a 30-day plan for the next 30 days, and as it's called, a 30-day plan. But where we want you to get is be able to actually predict what your metrics are going to be, i.e. X amount of leads in, and if it's linear, X amount of revenue for you in turn profit. So the process, if there's one final one, and I'm pushing you now, if there's one final one, what would it be? Well,
I think as part of this process, what it's done is it's allowed me to reevaluate the business. So rather than we're cutting the fat. Is that a good way of saying it? Yep. We are cutting the fat right now, in that we're looking to do. Yeah, we're streamlining. We're looking to do more with less. So we know that we have a model which can bring in candidates. We have a model that can get us clients in terms of the data set building. Yes, there's still, none of this takes away from the fact that you still need to have someone that can engage with people.
Yep.
There is no system in the world that's going to make you a lot of money without you being able to convert. There has to be someone there to drive the machine, but it means that we can, as a business, get those right people, reward them. So we're looking to put bonus packages on there which far outweigh any other industrial recruitment consultant, because we know we can handle more work as a business. We can have more temporary workers. We have more contractors. Our consultants can handle more contracts, because the thing that takes up so much time is obviously this actual recruitment process. How do we find the candidates? How do we find the clients? If you can systemize that and give them all the candidates they need, give them all the clients they need, then they can take more work, they can handle more work.
I fully agree. It was yourself who said this, Jamie, about the vision is, I know you started to tiptoe into this now, but have the systems off-site, VA world. So we got the data, we got the lead generation, we got the inbound, then we got the consultants dealing with what comes in. That model is so scalable. So your staff that you're going to pay the bigger sums to are going to be those who are dealing with inbound leads. So it's a whole 360 recruitment. I think it's such a bullshit term. It's crazy. but the factory, phrase you've used just
Yeah.
amplifies. That's the way this business has to go. I think there'll be so many businesses going out of business in the next few years because of the old model. Okay, awesome. So we got the whole reevaluation of the business. So the data side of things. So now you created this factory approach. If I may, I might copyright that.
Yeah, sure.
It's taken the ideas from the other 90 directors plus. We've got the developing the metrics, love that, the predictability. So that's exactly where we want to be, so we can predict the next 30, 90 days. And then actually reevaluation of the business, cutting the fat back. Right then, so let's do this just very quickly. So one of our members said, and I mentioned to you previously, Kate said before she saw me, she thought I was a second-hand car salesman. That's what I look like. Before you joined us, what was going through your head in terms of this sounds like bullshit, it's too good to be true, or this stuff doesn't exist? What was sort of going through your mind when this? Because I know you sent us an email, but what was going through your mind, and what will someone else watching this now think in their head to stop them thinking, yeah, does this stuff really work?
Well, I think, as I mentioned to you off air, I have sold cars in a previous life, so that wouldn't be an insult to me. It was good schooling for me. But I think you have to be open. There's a lot of ego around in recruitment. I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that. I've got my own business, I know best. So you've just got to cut that crap out immediately and be open to things and be willing to try something, because if you don't, if you stick just doing the same things you've always done, the results will always be the same. I know that's very cliche to say that, but it's so true. And whatever we're doing this year, Andy, won't be good enough next year. That's the truth of it. You'll have to evolve.
Absolutely.
So I suppose rather than hesitating to kind of make those make that leap of faith, you should never stop evaluating your business and trying to do something better. So do your research, look what's out there, and give things a go. It's the reality is in terms of the price you pay for it against what you can spend on, job board advertising for a month. It's a no-brainer for me. It really is.
And in terms of in a circle, we've already got three sort of sets of individuals. We've got those who are doing the getting up to sort of start up, sort of $500,000 and $500,000 to sort of 1.5, and then there's those who are getting where you guys are, sort of thing. But there's similar strategies, but there's always a different integrated strategy for each business.
Yeah.
If looking at in fact, who do you think this would suit then? Who do you think? So watching this now, who do you think this program would suit?
Well, I think, Andy, even if you're an established business, a new desk is a new startup. You're going to go out there and engage with new clients. You're going to engage with new clients, and that's how that is delivered out there, and how that then turns into money is entirely on the system that you use and the type of person you put on that desk in terms of how they're going to represent your company. So even if you're an existing business and you're thinking, right, I'm going to go to a new niche, it's worth the value. It can work that way. If you're just starting out in recruitment, to have the amount of content dropped on your lap, I mean, just the LinkedIn stuff alone, in terms of linking back to the VA, there's so much value in there. That stuff takes years to build up those things, and and if you do it yourself, you're then having to go and test it yourself. So you could be 2 or 3 years, in a learning experience, rather than actually having that handed to you on a plate and being able to feedback whether it works or whether it doesn't work. So for me, it works on all ends, but the reality is, to make any of this work, is that the leadership, the consultant, the person engaging it has to be open. You have to drop you as a business owner out of it and just say, right, there's all these things here, let's give it a go, let's try these things and find what works for you. There is no definitive answer that's going to make you £1 million, £2 million. You've just got to take elements of it and apply it to your business in what suits you best.
Awesome. That being open is key, isn't it? I fully agree with you. Once we speak to someone, it's not a case of more education. There's so much out there you can educate yourself on.
Yeah.
In terms of your next steps, then, what do you think is going to happen in the next year? So you're always reevaluating. What's your next year look like for you?
Well, I mean, we're going through. I'm going through a bit of a difficult patch at the moment, because I'm buying out the 2 other shareholders. So in the next couple of weeks, I will be sailing my own ship completely on my own. So I think we're going to continue the reprofiling, and the hope is that we'll get the temp and contract business nailed down.
Yep.
And in a position where the people who are running those desks for us are in effect, going to be the next business leaders of Clarico. We're going to give the opportunity to build their own sector, their own patch, bring their own teams in. And then that will allow me the time to go and then start as in new different sectors, knowing now that I've got these steps that I can go back to add in another sector to Clarico, another department that we deal with.
And replicate,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, growth and growth.
Awesome. So Jamie, listen, for the guys who are going to be listening to this or watching this, if they feel the need to reach out to you, and guys, listen to this, please only reach out to Jamie for things that can help Jamie. Don't reach out to say, where'd you get your shirt from? Or, but if they want to get in contact with you, what's the best way, Jamie?
Sure, obviously they can contact me via the Facebook page. I've not been that active the last few months because I've been so busy, but I can, I'm free. They can check me out on LinkedIn. I'm there, and I will help. I think so far, I remember one of the threads on Facebook. I think there was someone else who's joining who was more from a temp contract, and he was kind of having this kind of thoughts about, will this work for me because I'm in temp and contract? The reality is, as I say, be open, look at what this is doing, and apply it to your business. There is also a way. The methodology used in perm recruitment, you can just apply that to temp recruitment. It's the same. It's just people to people.
Exactly.
How to do that, it doesn't make no difference.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, listen, thanks for taking the time to do that. Really appreciate
no problem.
You doing that. And I'll see you inside the group.
Certainly will.
Cheers Jamie.
Bye-bye.